Commerce is our topic, is our subject, not the topic. Commerce is the subject and production is the topic. In our production class, we will deliberate on two major areas. Remember our last class, we talked about occupation, factors that help us in our choice of occupation. And we'll explain what occupation is. What are the categories that our occupation can fall into? Now let's look at production. What is production? And we're going to state the factors of production. But let's take the first in our points for today, which is production. In a layman view, if you hear the word production, what does it mean to you? Production has to do with the making of products. Making of products. To us, that's what production is. But it goes beyond that. Production has to do with using raw materials, like the extractive industry we talked about the other day under occupation, those that works under the extractive areas. Production has to do with the use of raw materials that God has made in their own natural state to produce goods, turn them to semi-finished goods and finished goods to satisfy human wants. So they use these raw materials, convert it into different products that can satisfy human wants. That is production. And so on the board, I have production is the transformation of raw material into finished goods and their distribution to the consumer to satisfy their wants. It involves the creation of goods and services to satisfy human wants. It can equally be said to be the art of making goods and services available to the public. So the major points there is creation of goods and services to satisfy human wants. Production of goods and services to satisfy human wants. Turning raw materials to semi-finished goods, finished goods to satisfy human wants. Using the raw materials to make final products that can benefit the public. That is just what production is. So when we use our raw materials, like our rubber, process it, and we use them to make slippers, rubber slippers for ourselves. Plastic rubbers that we use as utensils in our homes. Tanks that we use to store our waters. Our plastic bottle waters that they use to produce them. Whatever product rubber can be turned into to give us a finished product to satisfy our wants, that is from production to finishing. And then it is distributed to final consumers in order to satisfy their wants. That is production. So now we'll go to the next one, the factors of production. What are the factors of production? Our next point is factors of production. What are those factors we consider in production? We have 4 factors in production: land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. Land. The first one is land. What is land? It is the free gift of nature that God has given to us. It's not just the fixed land that you and I just manage. It is all natural resources, the free gift of nature God has given to us. Our raw materials, our rivers, our ocean, our sound, everything that nature has given us that comes from the ground, that comes from the land. So our raw materials are equally free gifts that comes from God. So land has to do with the free gifts and all the resources that is given to us. So in production, land is very important because that's where we got our raw materials, resources, raw materials that we use. Here too, we can situate our structures to carry out production. And we have the free gifts God has given to us to carry out production, turning them into finished products. That's land. Labor. Labor has to do with human efforts put into production. And in labor, we have the skilled and unskilled laborers. Man's mental ability man's physical ability put into the process of production for production to be complete. That is labor. Your effort put into production, human activity, either mental, physical, emotional, whichever way man has contributed to make production process complete. It is the way humans have put their intelligence in making production complete. Capital. Capital has to do with human resources, materially or mechanical, put into production. Under capital, we have our finance, we have our equipment, machineries, put into place to make production possible. An entrepreneur. Entrepreneur has to do with human activity to coordinate this other process of production, the land, labor, capital. Human coordination of all other factors of production to make it a whole. And so it has to do with man, humans organizing their activity as it requires land, labor, capital, to bring them all together, coordinate them all together to make production possible. So invariably, land has to do with free gift of nature God has given us, where we get our raw materials to do production. Labor has to do with human effort put into production process, mental, physical, all ability to make the production process successful. Capital, human activity that has to do with provision of what makes land and labor possible, like our finances to buy raw materials, equipment to make them work out to give us our finished goods. And then entrepreneur, human, who come together, bring in idea, put all these factors into consideration and make them whole to bring in the product. They bear the risk, they make decisions, they know what to produce, how to go about the production process. These are the factors of production. In our next class, we're going to talk about more of this under specialization and exchange. Thank you for being part of this class.